Hello, my name is Bryce Tubbs. With me today is Tahira Bharmal. She's a Chief Strategy Officer at Mentors Council. I'm extremely excited to be able to kind of have this conversation, get to know her a little bit better, and share it with you guys as well. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Tahira.
Thank you so much for having me, Bryce.
Excellent. Before we get started, for those watching, if you're watching this from any other location outside of our free community, I just want to personally invite you inside. It's a mastermind where we come together and support each other every day. So if that's what you've been missing in these interesting times we're in, come and join us by clicking the links either above or below the video. Now, Tahira, what was life like before you got into consulting and coaching? Really, what was the driver that brought you into the field?
So life before was, I worked in the corporate world for a while. And then I decided to have a family, so I took a bit of a pause. And then from there, it was a shift into coaching and getting into the coaching industry. And part of it was just more for me to grow myself and learn a new skill and, just grow myself more exponentially. And then from coaching, I became a life coach, and then I moved into success coaching. And then from there, just the inevitable move was to go into consulting, and because most of my clients were coming from the corporate world, and so getting into corporate training and development for their employees. And yeah, so that was kind of sort of the transition from before to now.
Nice. Let me ask you this question. So, you said at first you were life coaching, then success. Now, what problem are people generally trying to solve when they come and work with you nowadays?
So right now, the problem that we normally solve with people is really organizations that want to invest into their employees and help them with the soft skill growth into leadership positions, right? So then there's the team building aspect of it. There's communication, like effective communication. Most of us think we're effective communicators, but then there's so much with the verbal and the nonverbal. And so the problem is that they're really trying to solve is sort of bringing more cohesiveness into the organization, and then really just investing in their people to help them go to the next level. And then when we're working with the individual clients, they sort of come to us with more, they want to get to a certain position in their careers. Either it's a transition from corporate world into business, and they're sort of trying to bridge the gap of the skills, more on the soft skills again, not the technical skills. And then they come in sort of with that, and we sort of help them get to that point, with the leadership. What kind of a leader are you? What is purposeful leadership? Things are changing so much, and so those are kind of the main problems that we're solving.
That's really interesting, especially when we're talking about the soft skills. And, can you talk about maybe one thing that people think that they're doing well with their soft skills, but is actually, something that it's a mistake they don't know they're making?
I would have to say the biggest one that we come across is in communication. And when we talk about effective communication, most people think, oh, I know how to communicate. I can write up an email. I can have a conversation. But when you're sort of limited in time and you're in an organization with a lot of people with different personalities, the people don't recognize the intricacies that are related with communication. So I would say communication is one of the things. I think all of us human beings sort of tend to think we communicate well, and then we end up saying the wrong thing and then apologizing. So there's that piece of it, and just sort of helping people understand that. And then the nonverbal aspect of communication, we tend to take that for granted. So I would say that's one of the things a lot of people think they're great at. And then when we sort of walk through the training, it's like, oh, there's so much room for improvement or growth rather in that area, especially with conflict management and stuff like that,
Yeah. That also brings up a very great point. You said sometimes people say the wrong thing and they'll immediately apologize. But sometimes people, aren't aware of the words they use and how they affect other people. For example, I was on a call. The person goes, you just have 20,000 connections. The word just is kind of offensive.
Yes.
And he didn't even know.
Yes, absolutely.
Can you talk about how to develop that awareness?
Most of the time it's really mostly when you're sort of faced with that, and somebody doesn't really, with just the word just, I mean, it's a huge number, 20,000. Not everybody is able to reach that number. So you're right. It absolutely belittles it. I think most of the time when we do the trainings, especially, what we do is sort of we inner reflect it. So we do a bit of a role play, and we bring awareness and we flip it around to the person. The other piece is I did a training in powerful non-defensive communication, which was established by this lady, Sharon Strand Ellison. And she's written a book about it. And it's really interesting. There's curious questions you can ask people. So just being about openly and curiously asking them, and not necessarily wanting to show them that they've offended you. And it's just sort of saying, you know, a question would be, why do you think it's okay to just say just? Or what do you mean by just? Like, just sometimes the meanings we attribute are so different. I could casually just say just, and it could mean very casual to me, but to you, it's just like, dude, that's a huge word to use, you know? And so just asking curious questions, or even just as simple as saying, what did you mean by that particular word, rather than assuming what they meant. And that opens up a conversation. And I think it makes the other person pause and stop to think about what are they saying and what it actually means and what's the impact of it, you know? Another question is, you know, what do you think the impact of using the word just would be on me? You know, like, it belittles, it makes me. And then a lot of times we stay away from just really being honest about how we feel. And so it could just be you know, when you use the word just, it made me feel like this, rather than making it about them, just bringing it back to yourself and saying, that word really made me feel like you didn't value, you know, the work I've put into building this community, or whatever it is that you're talking about. So it's really about taking away the layers. And we've really been conditioned to be so politically correct and stay away from real raw honesty. And sometimes that's all it takes, is just sort of say, you know, when you said that, it made me feel like this, and it really made me feel bad. And just leave it up to that person to sort of reflect on it and come back to you with whatever they have to come back with.
That's very, very interesting. I never thought of it like that. Oftentimes I say, all right, cool.
Yeah, but most of us, we're conditioned, right? Like, we're conditioned to sort of stay away or just breeze through the conflict. And sometimes it can be really hurtful, you know, like it could really hit you deep or affect your self-confidence. And in those times, it's really important for yourself to just sort of ask that question and say, I'm really curious as to why you thought that was okay. You know, and it just makes them stop and be, okay, maybe I should pay more attention to the language I'm using.
That's a great tip. That's very
Thank
great,
you.
especially when it comes to being like in corporate, you know. Oh, here's a
Yes.
good question. So,
Okay.
you know, right now we're kind of in some people are in quarantine, some people are out, some people are going back in. I'm
Right.
sure that social skills are maybe deteriorating, or our awareness is starting to, you know, go down a little bit because we're not having as many interpersonal conversations. Can you
Right.
talk about how people can prepare to go back?
You know, it's a really tough time. Everybody has struggled. And so there's a couple of things. I think for the first time ever, the divide between sort of leadership and people that are at employee level or managerial level has been bridged, because everybody's facing the same sort of mental trauma, if you like, or the same missing of skills and interpersonal communication. So everybody's sort of going back at not, when I say equal level, I don't mean everybody's dealing, how everybody deals is different, but sort of the issue is the same, you know. And I think there's so many factors that have come in. People have been still working on Zoom, and there's been a Zoom burnout, and there's been all these sort of things. And in terms of preparing for it, I think there's just honesty that you can go into it and sort of just say how difficult the time has been for you, or what you've struggled with during this time in terms of conversations. You know, it's been a great space for introverts, because everybody who's introverted, but at the same time, it's a downfall because their voices haven't been heard. You know, if they're on a group call, they're sort of silenced, muting themselves or turning the cameras off. And I think it's just about having an honest conversation of how difficult it has been for you. You know, and just, I guess, practicing when you're back to sort of just establish a new way of doing things. And hopefully people have had time to reflect on what they want to change in terms of interaction with one another. You know, like, for example, I know one of the things I said is I wanted more honest relationships in my friendships, especially in my personal, not to say I didn't have them, but just sort of cut all the BS out, you know, and sort of just have those honest conversations, because my time's become precious, you know, all of a sudden. or the realization of it. So I think the best way to prepare is just to be honest about the struggles you've had and how you're sort of working through those.
Nice. See, this is why we have people like you on, because like you bring interesting perspectives. I
Oh,
mean,
thank
yeah,
you.
even cutting the fat, that's actually kind of what's happened, and even in my life in this time, because it's like you really see who is really, you know, who really is one of your friends, right? Because sometimes
Yes,
you'll track by who's calling you, or if you call them, do they call you back? And you
yes,
know, that was one of the major concerns. I was talking to someone yesterday. I was like, you know, how to reignite a you know, the conversation or the friendship once we go back to that place. And you know, it's not that I was ignoring you, but how do you restart from there? You know, maybe some people's feelings might have been hurt.
right. But I think, and that's the big piece, is to sort of have those conversations. Like, you know, I've had during this time, I had a month of complete silence from my side on a social front. And it wasn't to be offensive to anybody. There was just so much happening around me that I needed to take a step back and just allow it to sink in and sort of see what it's doing to me. You know, like there was just, I was happy being in my bubble, and I'm introverted by, you know, nature, aside from my work front. And when I came out of it, it was just me reaching out to these people and saying, you know, like, I wasn't ignoring you on purpose. I needed space, and it was very interesting to sort of just see the comeback. Like you said, the people that really care and want to be there made the effort and understood, or took time to ask the questions to understand better, you know? So I think it's just about sharing it, because everybody's going through it in some form, shape, or the other, you know?
And you know, just thinking about vision as we either transition or, you know, as we just live on life, you know, what does the vision for your life look like for as far into the future you like to think or talk about?
So on the professional front, I would really, the vision would be to really sort of see more organizations, especially after what we've just been through as a world, globally, is to see that I hope organizations are able to see the value in people and the human investment, and really take the time out to invest in developing their people and understanding businesses don't function if your people aren't happy. And from that point of view, and now that everything's moved online and there's less limitations, people know they can do the trainings online. Professionally, I'd really like to see that area grow. On a personal level, I'd really, because now we're virtual, I'd really like to sort of move out of the snowy Canadian winter into a beachfront, and just, you know, really enjoy spending time with my family. And it's just about the little moments for me, you know, those make up the memories, and spending quality time with my friends and my family, you know, being able to travel the world. Yeah, and just sort of, in a nutshell, very simple vision, but also very not so simple vision. You know?
You know, yeah, because you know everybody's vision is personal to them, and you know their
Yes.
story. You know, what does the word success mean to you?
You know, when you wrote, when I sort of saw and heard that question the first time, it's very interesting. Having been a success coach, don't, I define failure. And to me, failure is not trying. If I have an idea or I think of something, in whatever arena of my life, and I don't try it out and I don't give it a shot, that to me is failure. But if I try it and it works, great. If I try it and it doesn't work, I've still succeeded, because I've given myself and I've honored myself to try that out. So that would be what I would say. I'd flip it around to you, that I don't really define the success on those bases, but I do define what failure is to me. And failure is just basically not trying.
Well,
And on a larger scale, success to me is just really, it's not monetary or materialistic. It's really at the end of the day, when I sit down to write my gratitude, um, being able to sort of see that I have a lot of privilege and I have a lot to be grateful for in the little things, you know, having a bed to sleep on, you know, having clean drinking water. And it's just in those little minute things that I feel very grateful and successful when I have those, you know.
so you know, are you working on anything new? I think we talked about a couple things that you have going on. Can you tell us about them?
Yes. So because we're moving online and, shifting everything online, we're offering a special leadership program where people who want to be leaders or are in leadership positions can come on and sign up for a virtual online training on different leadership programs. And then part of that is we have something called a game changer circle for mentors consult, where we're inviting people who are industry leaders and are really looking at their industries differently, and changing how things are working, to come onto a platform of a roundtable sort of things, and just sort of have conversations with like-minded individuals from different industries, just to share motivation, inspiration, and really share ideas, and that are committed to really their own growth, personally, professionally, and are also invested in seeing other people succeed and grow their businesses and grow themselves. So those are some of the things that we have going on for now.
Nice. Where can people either go to learn more about you, or where can they go to connect with you and what you're doing further?
So LinkedIn is a great way for them to connect with me, and they can send me a message on LinkedIn. Another really interesting platform lately has been Instagram, which our handle is Mentors Consult. That's a great way to get in touch. But I would say if they want to sort of send a private message and really connect deeply, LinkedIn's the best way. And then we can move the conversation off LinkedIn, depending on where it goes.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to tag you when this post is made and when this interview is released, but can you please spell it out for the people who are listening to this on audio?
For the LinkedIn profile, or?
You can do either one.
Okay, so LinkedIn would be my first name, which is Tahira, Tahira, and last name is Bharmal, which is Bharmal. And for Instagram, it's Mentors Consult, which is MENTORSCONSULT.
I tell you, spelling out scary. I used to spell out the
Yeah,
guest
I have
name.
to sort of like, did I say the you? No.
I used to have to read out all the guest names at the end, and like when
But
you're seeing it, it's like I hope I don't like just get like a case of dyslexia and miss the letter or say the letter wrong.
yeah, it's funny because when you're so used to saying it yourself, you don't really spell it out, and then when you have to, like, I had to take a moment. I'm like, did I say the you? Did I not? But hey, you got me. I think I did good on the spells
I
test.
think so. Yeah, you got it all right. You got it all right. And for those watching, we just thank you for your time today. And hopefully you enjoyed watching this as much as we enjoyed creating it. Now, once again, if you want to go and join a group of like-minded individuals, people who are improving themselves and helping others do the same, just like Tahira, who is helping others, especially with their communication, I recommend you go and check out our free community. I'm going to put some links either above or below the videos. Now, once again, just please hit that share button so other people can get some great value as well. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. We're done recording in 3 and 2 and